Hello and welcome to this segment of Arts Talk. I'm Sherri Burr, I'm your host, and my co-host is going to be Sebastian Dunlap. Welcome, Sebastian.
Glad to be here.
And my students and I are very pleased to have as our special guest actor Wes Studi. Welcome, Wes.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Such a
Sherri.
privilege.
Yeah.
So I understand this is your very first time being at the University of New Mexico.
On actual campus, yeah.
Yeah, oh wow.
I believe it is.
Wow, well, welcome to the university. And you are such an actor of amazing scope and range in your films. And so we wanted to have a conversation with you today about acting and about the films that you've chosen, about what you've loved in your work and what you wished you could have changed, and just a variety of items related to your work. So how long have you lived in New Mexico? I know you're originally from Oklahoma.
We've been here for 17 years, going on 18.
Wow.
I think this coming August will be 18 years.
Wow.
I have a 17-year-old son, that's how I can tell.
Okay, it's
Yeah,
good to have
he'll be
that kind
18
of
this year,
marker.
yeah.
And you also do other things besides acting, like you represent the Indian Research Institute, is it, or
no,
Language Institute? How would you?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's I'm just a spokesperson for Indigenous Language Institute in Santa Fe, and it's I'd like to call it a repository of methods for teaching, maintaining, and working with languages, Indigenous languages mainly here in North America and South as well.
Mm-hmm. Which Indigenous languages do you speak?
I speak Cherokee.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
A little bit of Muskogee Creek, because we're sort of from the same area. Northeastern Oklahoma is made up of 5 tribes, right?
Right.
And, well, maybe you don't know.
No, I do. I
well,
do know. My grandmother, my
Yeah.
great-great-grandmother, was born on a reservation in Oklahoma.
There are no reservations in Oklahoma, dear, so.
Well, at
Boom,
that time.
got you on that one.
No, but she was definitely born there.
There were the Indian nations.
Uh-huh.
There were the Indian nations, and then there were there's the Indian Territory, wherein they had the Western tribes, in Western Oklahoma. But in the eastern part were the what was called the nations, right? Cherokee, Choctaw, Seminole Creek, and Chickasaw.
Okay.
But in any case, I always like to clear that up each and every time that's mentioned about reservations. The only real reservation in the state of Oklahoma is underground mineral rights that the
okay.
Osage have.
Okay.
Everywhere else, in all the other states, there are reservations. But Oklahoma, no.
All right. Thank
Ta-da!
you. Thank you for that history
Yes,
lesson.
history and a little bit of political and sociology there.
That'll work.
Hey, I'm
That'll
on
work.
campus. What am I supposed to do?
Exactly. Okay. So perhaps one of your more famous films was Avatar, because that is the highest grossing picture of all time. So many people saw you in Avatar. So let's have you talk about that role.
It's
and
called The Big Blue.
The Big Blue.
The Big Blue. It's
Because
all
everything
big
was
and
blue. Okay. So let's have you talk about that role.
Well, that role, essentially, it's a story that's been told many times before, right? I mean, we know the story. The technology is the real big difference in terms of the kind of film that we finally saw, the 3D film and the way that it was put together. In fact, from the time that we started actually shooting to the time that we began to talk about the final product, the term mocap or motion capture became performance capture. Because, just odd little things like Zoe, the girl who plays my daughter, she was talked of for a nomination and stuff, and the Academy couldn't get their things together to the point that, we don't really know where the performance ends and where the technology begins. Where do those two things meet? And actually, you could see it as we were shooting it. Say this table was something called a volume. This is the area in which we work, right? We can fix levels with whatever, just building things out there to fix levels and such. But up above this, what we have is a trellis of 500 to 600 digital cameras.
Okay.
Right? And this is what captures our movement with the, everybody knows about the suits and the stuff. that capture movement of joints and everything, right? We also wear a helmet with an arm that comes out in front with a LED light and a digital camera there, and it picks up all of the little movements of our faces, right? Where they put on little dots wherever. And in any case, all of that is captured. What we do on scenes, which is just what you would do in any other scene, right? I mean, it's just back to basic acting. All of that is captured by these this trellis of 500-600 cameras fed into a bank of computers that rivals NASA. And immediately, what it does is it captures our movement and joins them together, right? So in a way, within the computer resides an avatar.
Okay.
And we as actors feed it motion. We feed it everything. We, they would give it the whole acting bit, right? And it melds, the computers melds those two, and at each corner of this volume, we have monitors, large monitors, 6-foot monitors, right?
Really?
Wherein we can see ourselves
In the blue.
in the blue, in the
okay.
image that's been created within the computers, the
So
program.
as you're acting, the cameras are capturing all your movements, and that's immediately translated on screen. So
With a
you
drag
see,
time of about like a nanosecond. You know,
Really?
my hand raises and it's followed by, about just that much space. And so we can see ourselves at all of these monitors.
Wow.
Yeah.
But then how do they do the flying, though?
The flying?
Yeah, the flying on the various kind of
They
creatures.
use green screen on some of that.
Oh, okay.
So they bring the two elements together, like
Okay, all right.
the green screen as well as the motion capture. And what they do is they actually brought in horses into this volume area. It's an area about the size of half of a basketball court, right? They actually brought some horses in.
So you'd be riding horses, but on the screen it's going to translate into these amazing creatures.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're translated into amazing creatures. The dragons, the flying dragons. Well, they were mainly sort of large, not even puppets, but just things that they could. It was just built like scaffolding and things, where they built areas where the guy goes running up and jumps on the neck of it's really just a prop set. They jump on it, and that then becomes the dragon and all of that. Right?
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, that's really interesting to get behind the scenes of Avatar and hear from the perspective of somebody who was in the film, what it was like to shoot the film. One of the things I've always admired about your performances has been like the intensity that you bring to the screen in any role that I've seen you in has always been fun to watch because of that intensity. 2 questions. 1, where does that come from, that intensity that I'm speaking of? And then 2, with technology and seeing yourself performing, is it hard as an actor to, stay in character when you see the kind of artificial nature of what it is you're doing?
Not really, no. Really, it's kind of a matter of working with. It's kind of like working in the round, So you have to stay in character, but as time goes on, you begin to learn, just like the red light's on. Yeah, I know it's catching me now, right?
Right.
And other little things that happen, wherein it's like when we did that Pocahontas story, John Smith, Pocahontas story.
Was it The Lost World or The New World? Yeah.
And Terrence Malick is, director of his own renown, right? I mean, he has his methods and such. And we'll be working out here in this village area, and we're working sort of in the round because he has so many cameras. He'll have anywhere from 9 to 10 cameras working at any given time while the main scene is being shot. And then all of the activity around it is being shot as well by a number of cameras, right? So you never really know unless you look around without actually looking at the cameras, then you can tell if you're being shot or not, right?
Right.
But on the other hand, it's a matter of like playing in the round, and that's very much like what happens in the volume, if you will. It's a little mixture of being on stage, a little bit of just doing scenes with maybe 1 or 2 cameras, just depends on how much coverage there is.
And how do you prepare for some of these roles? Like when you did the Tony Hillerman, when you filmed the Tony Hillerman books, like how do you get into Joe Leaphorn?
Oh, Joe Leaphorn.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Joe was fun to get into. Joe was a character. It took me back to the time when I first read one of Tony's books, and which was amazingly enough, a coincidence, the first story that we shot as a script was Skinwalkers. Now, back in the 80s, I had read Skinwalkers, and I thought, oh my God, what a book. Mainly because I began to read the book, and just from past history, I knew that, okay, here's Jim Chee and Joe Leaphorn. This is a couple of Navajo guys out here on the Dene. And probably pretty soon, while they're working on this, Lone Ranger's going to show up and teach them how to solve this crime, right? So I kept reading and reading, thinking, oh yeah, some white guy's going to show up here and teach them how to do this, or solve the problem for them. But it never happened, right? And so I was amazed with Tony Hillerman's books back then. In any case, since from that time on, most people had really gotten into Chee. I mean, he was the more present in that particular story, and in a lot of Tony's books as well. But I myself latched on to Leaphorn mainly because his character was somewhat like I could identify with him. He's a guy who had lived his life as an Indian guy and decided to go off and learn how to be an urban Indian guy and then come back, right? And so I knew how to do that. And I just more or less took what I had learned over the years about him and my admiration for his character and made my version of Joe Leaphorn.
Yeah, you seem like the person. I couldn't think of anyone who could have played that role better.
Great, I want to get you in casting. Right?
We're filming in front of an audience of law students, so let's ask them if any of them have a question for our guest, Wes Studi. Jeff?
I had one question. Dances with Wolves, Last of the Mohicans, or Avatar, which one is your favorite and why?
Okay, I'll tell you that all 3 are my favorites, and for different reasons. Okay, Avatar is pretty. It's pretty obvious. It's the biggest movie ever made, and the largest amount of money ever made by a film. Okay, I'm proud to be a part of that. Dances with Wolves was a groundbreaker in itself. Every 15 to 30 years, something like that, we have a Native American themed film that's a groundswell of more to come. Well, I'm proud to be a part of Dances with Wolves because it was that. And what was the other one you mentioned?
Last of the Mohicans.
Last of the Mohs. Last of the Mohs, Mohicans, excuse me, is my favorite because it gave me a character that was above and beyond any that I had done before and perhaps haven't done since in terms of growth as we shot the film. And then the audience reception that Magua made for me has been, it put me on the map. more or less. You know, I mean, I could have done Dances with Wolves and not done anything else, and I don't think I would have worked anymore. You know, if I hadn't done Mohicans.
Oh, okay.
You know, but in any case, those are the reasons that those particular films are my favorite. It's kind of like having like my favorite nephew and my favorite niece.
Right.
You know? Oh yes, depends on the timing.
So, do you have any roles that you regret?
That I regret?
That you're willing to admit on camera that you regret?
Absolutely none. Not on camera.
Oh, okay.
No.
There we have it. There we have it. Other questions for Wes Studi at the moment? Billy, I know you had one about heat.
Well, I'll probably just ask like a different question, but during the filming of Avatar, when you're doing the motion capture, did you find that made you more cognizant of your abilities, your mannerisms, your facial expressions?
At first, it was a concern. Mainly because there's a process of getting yourself hooked into or getting all of your equipment programmed or something for the computers and everything. You know? So there's a process of you going into, I don't know if they somehow check and see if everything is working right. So you have to go through all of these different motions so that they'll know that the cameras are going to catch everything, right? So you have to go through all of these different motions, standing up and kicking and bending and moving, and then you have to go through all of these motions with the camera here, wherein you open your mouth, you know, show surprise, show this, show that, show anger, you know, squint your face and everything. And then once they check all of that out, then you're ready to go in and begin to work. But other than that, once you're on, I don't think there's any real difference other than you have to get over the fact that you can see these monitors all the time, you know. But they are helpful, you know. They are helpful in terms of kind of positioning yourself, you know. Which position here, this far over, can make a difference in what you're, you know, what you're capable of doing in terms of if you're pointing or doing, you know. It's helpful, but once you get over that, then it's right back to basic acting 101, you know. But heat was something that actually was I think the most fun I had on Heat was the big bank shootout, wherein I got to shoot Val Kilmer. I unfortunately just wounded him, though. Just kidding. But De Niro was a big part of that, and I just signed on to do a little film up in New York. I think I leave Sunday. And I'll be up there next week. But this is one of the films that has a title that really knocks me out. It's called, I don't know if you'll have to bleep me or not, but it's called Another Bullshit Night in Suck City.
I think we should be able to get away with that.
Look it up. It's on the internet, IMDb. There's Another Bullshit Night in Suck City.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
And he and Paul Dano are cast in it as well, you know. And
what is it about?
It's about it's a father-son kind of film, wherein I think De Niro's playing the father and Paul Dano's playing the son, and everything kind of happens around a homeless shelter in some urban area.
Oh wow!
It's
so
a funny little story.
You've worked with some of the most amazing actors and actresses over the years. What do you think you've learned from working with people like De Niro?
Well, I haven't worked with De Niro yet. I'm going to next week.
Oh, okay.
But I haven't worked with him.
Oh, you haven't worked with him yet? Oh,
No.
okay. I'm sorry.
In Heat, we never had
Had a scene together.
nothing. No.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
that was the first time that he and Pacino ever had a scene together.
Right, because in The Godfather they had
yeah.
separate scenes. Okay.
Yeah, so that was us when in Heat, was that all the police guys were always together and all the criminal guys were over here, and very few times that the twain would meet. You know?
You know, I'm glad you point that out, because I think a lot of times people assume that, you know, they see the whole film.
Oh, I should have told you, De Niro, me and him were just like that.
It's okay. It's okay. But I think there's like an assumption that you see this film that all the people would have been, you know, working, interacting with together. But the reality of the way movies are shot, if you don't have a scene with someone, it's possible you never saw them during that period.
We met him.
Uh-huh.
You know, when we first got together, like for rehearsal or whatever. You know,
Okay.
But other than that,
Okay.
Yeah.
So will you actually have scenes with him on this new
Yeah.
film? Okay. All right. That's good.
yeah.
That's good.
As an actor, Mr. Studi, what would you recommend to those that are getting into acting or that aspire to be actors like yourself? What steps could they take to really build themselves as an actor, and what did you do when you were starting out early on?
Well, have something else to do first, for sure. Yeah, have a survival job of some kind. You got to have that. And then when I started out, you had to have a phone and a place to put it. Things have changed. You can have a phone and you be anywhere, right? These
Right.
days. But that's essentially it. You have to ask yourself, you know, do you really want to do this? I mean, you can play around at it for a while. On the other hand, you have to also begin to invest in yourself, and begin to you know, if you need to, make sacrifices. You know, it's a matter of like I say, I had to have a phone and a place to put it. Now I could just have a phone, but on the other hand, you really have to ask yourself if you're willing to take rejection, if you're able to take some rejection, and if you decide you can, then at that point you must learn to not take it personally whenever you are rejected, because it's going to happen a lot of times. But on the other hand, I would say that if you can have something else to do to meet your bills and feed your face,
Go for it.
go for it. You got to have it. Yeah.
What were some of
Does-
your survival jobs?
I used to move furniture.
Oh.
You know, those places. You've been out to L.A.?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like starving students and
Uh-huh.
and a lot of those different kinds of. That's what I did, was I moved furniture, because it was, you know, one of those things where you can be free to go audition.
So did you think it was actually absolutely critical to your career to be out in LA at the beginning?
Yeah. Yeah, I started doing my learning the craft of acting on stage in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and from that point I worked an equity film there in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which led to working on educational television, and then a docudrama sort of a thing for PBS, and that's what got me in front of the cameras. At that point, after I had done that, going back to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and working Gaslight Dinner Theater just didn't do it for me anymore, you know.
Right.
So the only thing to do at that point, and this was in like the late 80s, was, you know, New Mexico didn't have anything. So it was either New York or Los Angeles, you know.
You mentioned New Mexico didn't have anything in the late 80s. Can you just talk a little bit about the film industry now?
Here?
Yeah.
Well, it's up in the air. Well, I think that, I don't know what the effect is what the effect of dropping, you know, the tax incentive rebate, I don't know what kind of effect that's going to have on productions coming into the state. It may be detrimental, and maybe